Well, if you're watching this with us right now, we're going to take a few minutes to allow people to come and filter in. So we're playing some background music for you, and we hope you enjoy it. And we'll just sit here for a bit until we get some more peeps coming in. So we'll start in about 2 or 3 minutes. Watching with us right now, we're going to take a few minutes to allow people to come and filter in. So we're playing some background music for you. We hope you enjoy.
Alrighty, if we are watching, if we are watching, well, we're watching. If you're watching, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And if we haven't met before, my name is Bobby Thompson, and I am the president of SMU for this 2020-2021 school year, and we are so excited. Even though I can't see your faces, I can feel your presence through the YouTube. Just very excited to have you here is what we're trying to say. And we're so thrilled that you tune in at all, because even amidst COVID and the craziness, we are so expectant and so excited for all the Lord is going to do in and through SMU during this next year. And a virus, honestly, as difficult as it makes things, it sure provides a lot of opportunities for ministry, and the world needs, the Lord more than ever. So with that being said, welcome to the Judea, Samaria, and One-to-One Ministry Leader Info Night. And we're just so happy that you be here with us. And before we dive into things, I just want to pray for us. So wherever you are, we're going to pray and then we'll get started. Dear Lord, wow, I cannot even believe we are able to meet right now. And we thank you for all the ways that you have gone before us in our interceding on our behalf, Father. And thank you for the protection that you have placed over us, and for the ways you're guiding us through a very uncertain and confusing time, Lord. And as exciting as this meeting is, Lord, I want to acknowledge just the tremendous amount of loss that is probably in this group of people together tonight. And a tremendous amount of pressure that's on people, whether it's financially or academically or whatever it is, Lord. I just pray that you would meet every anxiety that's within every person with your peace, and they experience that they would experience the comfort of your holy presence, God. And we just surrender all of this to you, Lord. And at the end of the day, you don't need us and you are going to do your work, but we are so grateful that you would give us an opportunity, and that you actually enjoy for us to partake in your work, Lord. And what a privilege it is just to be a part of what you're doing. And I pray that as we prepare for this next year, you would also be doing a healing work in everyone's lives, from the just various degrees and levels of trauma that people have recently experienced. And before we go out on these ministries, Lord, that you would go out before us and begin the healing and begin softening hearts and minds and shaping them, so that they would be receptive towards you, Lord. We give you all the glory and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so before we explain sort of the leadership positions, I just want to talk a little bit about the history of SMU. And we started way back in 1923, and it is actually our 97th year, which is wild. And I gotta confess, earlier today, I thought it was the 92nd year. And so I was even underestimating how long SMU has been around. It's been around for 97 years. And my first thought after just letting that sink in is, oh my gosh, SMU has been around longer, way longer than the internet. So I cannot imagine what that first class of students that started SMU would feel like now, that we're meeting over a computer and presenting over computer. And oh my gosh, I just think their minds would be blown. And what a legacy it is, what a torch it is to pass on and to carry. And it is just such a privilege. And we are the largest student-led missions organization in the nation. And yeah, the word that keeps coming to mind is just what a privilege and what an honor it is. And I'm so humbled to be in the position I'm in for this year. And I, even amidst all the craziness and confusion of COVID, I've felt overwhelmingly grateful for the team we have for this next year, and just the way I've watched Biola show up in a time where I think it would be so easy to be weighed down by apathy and discouragement. And just watching this, oddly enough, be a really unifying thing, and watching the church rise up too, and watching the church step up in ways that watching the church step up in ways that it's been called to. And the Lord has just sort of reminded me of just the church in Acts. And I wonder if we're kind of entering back into a time like the church was in Acts, and how people gave so generously, and Christians were the ones who were sacrificing themselves and everything they had, just for another person's life. And so with that being said, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the vision we have for this 2020-2021 school year. And the verse that the Lord really put on my heart is from Psalm 42. Verse 8, where it talks about the Lord, his loving kindness will be with us in the day, and his song will go with me into the night. And thinking about that, and what a comfort that verse is, but what a motivating thing it is, that, okay, if his song will be with us into the night, then it's not just, oh, he'll meet us there. It's like we need to go actively into the night, not just waiting until we find ourselves there, but we actually need to walk into the night. We need to walk into the dark and destitute places. We need to walk into people's lives who have not been heard, who have gone unseen, who have gone uncared for. We need to walk into the uncomfortable places without fear, because we have a weapon that the world doesn't, and that's the Holy Spirit. And it's just so empowering and so comforting. And so that's what the Lord has really put on my heart for this year, as well as the rest of the staff. And the biggest way we want to execute that, sort of going into the night and doing it well, ministering to this world in suffering, is through the practice of sustainability. So that not only are we just going out and giving the gospel to people, but we are empowering people in their own communities and coming alongside them and refreshing them and helping strengthen them to communities they've been ministering to for years, where they have active long-term relationships with them that we don't have the ability to have because we're short-term. So doing that to ensure that we're actually ministering to people in the most effective way, and not just the most effective way, but the most fruitful way. And I think short-term missions, there's a lot of times these two polar sides of it, where it's like we shouldn't do short-term missions at all, or it's like, no, we should. We just can go and do whatever and do anything. And I really think there's this gentle balance that needs to be had of, we need to be really discerning and really wise, innocent as doves and wise as serpents. And we need to be gentle and really aware, but we need to be very discerning of the places we're going into, and just doing that by building long-term relationships with missions organizations who know what they're doing. They know the communities they're in, and they've been doing it for a long time and are going to be continuing doing it for a long time. And that way it also protects SMU and protects students. And oh man, I could talk about sustainability forever, but that is one of the ways we really want to do this well this year. So with that being said, I just want to talk a little bit about the missions department. And our missions department is made up of global short-term missions and local short-term missions. And also we're starting to integrate, and Helica will talk about this with our one-to-one ministries, but local long-term missions, hopefully. But the missions department is the mobilizing department within SMU. The mandate to witness is given in Acts 1:8, the Great Commission, and guides to the end to which this department labors. In Acts 1:8 says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all of Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." And with this mandate as SMU's guide, and specifically the mission department's guide, the missions department sends out student-led trips to our Jerusalem, which is local within the LA sort of North Orange County area, Judea, which is California, Samaria, which is all over the US, and North America, and to the ends of the earth, to all the places in between. And so I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm so excited to pass it off to our Director of Local Missions, and Helica Saldana, and our Director of Global Missions is Stephanie Ramirez. Thank you, guys.
Yay. Thank you, Bobby. And everything Bobby said is, I got chills, because that's what we want to live our lives out in general, but also as we do things in SMU. And so, like she said, my name's Angelica, and I'm the Local Missions Director for this next year.
And my name is Stephanie, and I am the Global Missions Director for this next year. And we are really excited just to have you guys here and let you guys know kind of like what we're thinking about for the next year. I know that it's kind of tough to plan things at the moment with everything that's going on, but with that, we wanted to share our vision. So I'm going to read it, and then Helica is going to kind of explain the heart behind it. But our vision as missions department, both local and global, is overflowing unity. And this comes with overflowing unity reconciles our heart with God and our heart with people. And Helica, you want to explain what that means?
Yeah. So Stephanie and I came together, and we meshed our two visions together, and it created this. And so basically, overflowing unity means that first we surrender ourselves to God, and we're in relationship with God. And because we're in relationship with God, we're being filled and we're being loved. And out of the overflow of his love, we are actually able to truly love and serve others. And so it's not just from our limited cup or our own energy, it's from the love that God, the grace and love that God has shown us. And so we want our service and our love and everything we do in our lives to be out of the overflow of what God has done for us. And then we also want to work well with people. And it will naturally, if we are allowing ourselves to work from the overflow, we will be able to reconcile with people and be able to truly sit with them and listen and walk alongside them and learn from them and truly be one as a community. And that's what the body of Christ is. And that's what God has called us to do. Mhm.
Definitely. We believe that missions is being in the business of reconciliation. We reconcile people's heart to the heart of the Lord, and also we reconcile people with people. And so we believe in holistic missions. We believe in sustainable missions. And so the ministries that we're going to be sharing with all of you come from that heart of overflowing unity. So, Angelica, you want to share the first ministry?
Yeah,
Actually,
so
go over the timeline. Yeah.
yeah, it's okay. So we're gonna go over our timeline for what it looks like for our ministries. The one that we're specifically today we're going to talk about the opportunities that are open during the fall semester, and then I'll talk later about the year-long ministries, but also winter break. And so we're gonna be talking about those. But just so you can like categorize it in your head, here's a little simple timeline for you. So we have one-to-one ministries now, and so they will be going out all year. But you could stay at the timeline. I'm sorry, I'll explain that later. But they'll be going all year, so that's why you see them twice on the timeline, because they'll be serving weekly throughout the fall and spring semester. And then the ones that we're going to also talk about today and go in depth with is our Judea and Samaria ministries. And Judea, they usually go out in the spring break, but they're going out in winter break, and that's Greater California. And Samaria, Stephanie's going to talk about later about the opportunities you guys have there. But Samaria is through global missions. And in the spring, we have Jerusalem, and those are also weekly outreaches. And then we also have our Ends of the Earth projects, which go out internationally over summer break. Those will be offered in the spring semester. So we can go to the next slide. So we could talk about what's offered right now for leadership positions. So for the first one I'm going to talk about, this is a brand new thing. This is the first year SMU is going to be doing this, but it's not the first year that these ministries have been serving on our campus. So one-to-one ministries are basically one semester to another. They're going to be year-long ministries. Basically, if you're going to be a one-to-one ministry team co-leader, you're going to work under SMU and with another co-leader, so there will be two of you, and you'll partner with a local missions organization, which we'll show soon after this, or a church ministry. And it will be within the LA County area, so it's neighboring communities near our school. And you will lead for 2 semesters, both the fall 2020 and the spring 2021 semester. And you will also be training an entire team of students to be able to serve respectfully and sustainably and mindfully as well, and teach them to have leadership skills. But don't worry, if you get selected, we will train you and equip you to be able to do that. And so if you can go to the next slide. So sweet. So these are the 2 ministries. So you probably have heard of these before. These are spiritual development ministries that SMU is going to be working with this next year. And we're going to be able to walk alongside them as they continue to serve in the ministries that they've been doing for quite some time now. And so Manna has been there ever since I've been a freshman. I know they've been there way before then. And their focus is to point people to God, and for people to recognize that he is our provider and that he is deserving of all glory. And they do this by food distribution and relational ministry. And so that's an opportunity that we had this next year to serve all year round as a leader and as a member eventually. And we also have CEF, which is Child Evangelism Fellowship. And this is actually, last year was the first year that they ever went out. And Preet was the leader for this, and he killed it. And he really planted seeds for this ministry to be sustainable and to really care for different needs. And so their vision is to reach every child, every nation, and every day. And so that's also within the LA County. Mhm. So now we're going to our leader responsibilities. So for the one-to-one ministry, you will enroll into a 3-unit class called Leadership and Short-Term Missions. This class will equip you to do all the things that we were talking about earlier. Training teams to be culturally sensitive, aware, and um, flexible. I forgot that word for a second. But also, so we want to also cater it to you to care for you holistically too. And so that's why we're requiring you to, if you were to be a leader, to attend this class to enroll in it. And you'll only be in that class for the fall. We do offer this in the spring for spring leaders, but for our one-to-one ministries, they'll only go in the fall. And then you'll attend all local missions events. You'll host weekly team meetings. You'll have a one-on-one with your co-leader where you can just care for each other and also continue to debrief on how you can lead well. And you'll have bi-weekly meetings with a co-leader, with your co-leader and a faculty or staff mentor so that you can be cared for holistically. That's one way that we really want to make sure that you're being heard and listened to and held well as you're doing this role and pouring out. And you also have a bi-weekly one-on-one with your team developer. And you also have weekly two-on-ones with your co-leader and team developer. And basically, team developer is a staff member from SMU who walks alongside you as you do this role, and they mentor you to be able to lead and to love and care well and to do sustainable ministry. And so there's a lot of stuff here. Even you'll also have to do at least 2 one-on-ones with each team member. And you're responsible for the logistics of your team members. That's something important to remember. And you're also responsible for fundraising of team members, but that's dependable on the ministry that you are placed in. So as you see at the bottom, it's 8 to 10 hours a week. So if you are interested in this ministry, go ahead, take a picture of this. And this is actually very similar to the Judea ministry responsibilities that we'll talk about later, but this one it's good to remember this is a year commitment. And the cool thing about that is you can continue relationships for an entire year rather than doing one semester and then not being able to go back. You can go back and continue those relationships. And so if you go next. Yes, so these are important dates. These are also on the application, but if you want to take a quick picture or screenshot on whatever device you're on so that you can be able to look back to them. It's important to remember that all of these dates are subject to change considering COVID-19, but also just other things that might happen, especially for the spring. That's a long ways away, so that could change as well. Yeah, and so I'm going to talk about the Judea ministry. So this one was originally done over spring break, and we decided to change it because we wanted more time to be able to train and equip our leaders and to truly hold them and care for them. We found that it was very fast paced in the previous structure. So we want to be able to care for our Judea ministry team co-leaders well. And so they're responsible for forming a student-led trip in Greater California region. And so that's all of California. And that's our Judea. Whereas before, within LA County, that's our Jerusalem, if you look at Acts 1:8. And so they'll be going out during winter break. They won't be going out during spring break. So that's important to remember too. And their role is very similar to the one-to-one ministries. They're going to work alongside a local organization or church ministry in the Greater California region. And they'll plan ministry outings, they'll do team meetings, they'll train members in evangelism and discipleship. And they'll also continue to build lasting relationships with the organization and community and local community. And so something really important for this is because of the new structure change, we have something called the MO project. And so we have a list of MOs that we work closely with continually year by year, and we continue to add MOs to it, and we've been trying to solidify it. But because of the structure change, we are going to contact the MOs that we have been working with to see if they're able to still host us and if we're still able to work alongside them during winter break, since it is a different time and a different season. So I'm going to give you a little overview of a few of the organizations that we worked with this past year, this past spring break. But it's tentative to change if we cannot work with these organizations, but it's just so you can see it, what kind of organizations SMU works with and what kind of ministries that we're looking to work alongside. And we'll be placing you on a team. So usually you would do a preference, but we're placing you on a, we're gonna place you on a ministry team. So I'll just go through this so you can see what you're possibly going to be able to be a part of. So one organization we worked with last year was Central Coast Rescue Mission, and our team went to Skid Row, and they worked. They mostly worked. They worked within the homeless community, but they mostly did service, like acts of service to help the organization. And so they cooked, they cleaned, and it really helped with the organization because those a lot of things that they have been able to do because they're serving other people that are close by. And then we also did City Impact. Now, City Impact works in the Tenderloin district, and they also serve the immediate needs of the community. And so that's something that we really like when we partner with MOs like this is they're working towards the needs in the community, things that are actually helpful and sustainable and aren't making an impact, not things that maybe aren't helpful or a need. And so we also will be working or hoping to work with One Collective Fresno in California. And later, GM will be talking about One Collective as well, but we're only going to be working with Fresno in California. And they worked within the community and were able to really see how One Collective cares for their community well. And they believe that no one is invisible and everyone has access to food, freedom, and forgiveness. And they want people to have access to those holistic needs and open the door for deep transformation. And so the last two I'm going to talk about are actually connected. So YWAM, so Steps of Justice is actually connected to YWAM, but YWAM is Youth with a Mission, and we've had teams go to their San Francisco site, and I'll read their statement. They're a global movement of Christians from many denominations dedicated to presenting Jesus personally to this generation. And so they mobilize as many people as possible to help in this task, and you could be a part of that. And they work to fulfill the Great Commission like SMU does as well. And Steps of Justice, they particularly work with the refugee community and immigrant community, and they want to bring more education to that and to the injustice that is happening and poverty and slavery and all of those things that happen in our country and are happening around the world. And this is in San Diego. So these are the ministries that we've worked with in the past, and we're hoping to work with them again, but we will see if we're able to. And so leader responsibility. So these are very similar to the one-to-one ministry leader responsibilities, but they will only be throughout the fall, winter, and a little bit in the spring for a debrief. So we'll see that in the timeline next. But if you want to take a quick screenshot, you can go ahead and do that. But it's basically the same exact thing. You enroll in the class, and then you have all those weekly meetings, and you have to attend all local missions events because all of them serve a particular purpose to equip you. And so this is important. You could take a picture. I mean, everything else is important too, but you could take a picture of this and screenshot it. And like I said before, all these dates are subject to change in light of COVID and other things that might happen. In the spring, it's important to note that after you finish your trip, when you come back in the spring semester, we will want to help you debrief and process the trip. We don't want you to just hold these things and then walk as if that didn't happen, the trip didn't happen, and what you did and the people you met, that didn't happen. And so we want to help you process those feelings and help you process with your team as well. And then we'll also have Cocos and Convos, which helps our teams tell the community about what happened on their trips. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you, Angelica. So now I'm going to go over the Sumerian ministries. I just wanted to take a little parenthesis and say that if you are like listening to all of these opportunities and you think that instead of leading, you want to be a member, stick around. We will let you know how you can actually apply to be a member today and when you can find out more information on what it looks like to be a member. So stick around to the end. But basically now I'm going to go over the Sumerian Ministries. Sumerian Ministries falls under the Global Missions Department. Now you may be wondering, how are we going to do global missions when there's a global pandemic happening? And that is a very good question. Um, what route we've decided to take is that during the winter break trips, we usually do trips around North America. We do have some exceptions, for example, Team Ukraine, who went out last winter. Um, but for this winter, we have decided to stay domestically. Then what does this mean? This means that local missions will stay within the state of California, and global missions will go and do ministry within the United States, but outside of California. So literally every other state, that's where we're interested. So that's kind of like what we've decided. We've decided to do this primarily because, well, two things. Number one, we don't want things to be canceled last minute and then tell you guys like 1 month before, actually, it's canceled. Like we lived this year, with missions conference and all of that. We really don't want that. It's a lot of work to get these trips prepared for them to be canceled last minute. And so we want to avoid that as much as possible. But also, we decided to do this because we realized that our country is really hurting right now. I mean, it's the country with the most COVID cases, and so many people are losing their jobs, and so many people are um, just longing for hope and longing for the answer. And so I think that as a department and as SMU, God really put in our hearts to take this moment, this winter break, to really focus in the United States as a whole. And so for that reason, we have decided to stay domestically. Um, but basically, what it means to be a leader is the same job description as the local one: mentoring, training, and caring for your members in both evangelism, leadership, and cross-cultural ministry. You want to go into the next slide? Great. And so these are the MOs that we are looking at. Because we normally work with international locations, we have decided to continue with our plan of sustainability and of our missions organization project by still partnering with the same organizations that we always partner with. So those three are these three organizations. The first one's TrekX, and I'm really excited to work with TrekX because they're really a great organization. They believe in really mobilizing students and training them holistically by immersing students into cross-cultural locations. So you're not only just learning and being trained, but you're doing that by working with people and by immersing yourself into that culture. And so TrekX has different missions training, camps around the United States. Some options are, I believe, New York, in Arizona, and different locations like that. And so they really focus on training, and they really focus on the preaching of the gospel, which is why we're here. One Collective is also a great organization that we love partnering with. We've been partnering with them for a long time now. And so this is just a great way for us to continue to be faithful and also provide really holistic missions opportunities. And lastly, we have YMI, which is Youth Missions International. They have awesome locations in the United States, and there's a lot of opportunity for food distribution, as well as sports ministry and children's ministry as well. And so there's a lot of opportunities here. I also wanted to share kind of our heart behind why you guys no longer have the option to kind of pick and choose where to go. The reason why is because we believe that God has called us to serve, and God has called us to preach the gospel everywhere, wherever we go. And so whether it is local or it's global, that really doesn't make a difference. The point is that we're here to preach the gospel and to really just shine light in the darkness. And so that's kind of our heart. And the way that we're going to be able to pair you guys with, or assign you guys the location for you, is going to be based on ministry. So when you go into that application, when you're ready to apply, you will see a question that kind of sounds like, what is your ministry experience that you've had in the past, or a ministry that you feel called to? And based on that is that we're going to assign you the ministry that you will be doing. I know that that can be a little bit scary, and I know that that can be a lot to ask for, but we believe that in prayer, um, we're going to be able to really focus on doing the ministry and on preaching the gospel, rather than, oh yeah, I'm going to a really cool place across the world, or I want to go to the most adventurous place because I want to cross it off my bucket list. That's not why we're doing missions. And so this is the reason why we wanted to do this. You want to go into the next slide? Yeah. So these are the leader responsibilities. This is exactly the same as the local ones. The only thing that I do want to emphasize is the 3-unit class. So you do have to enroll for that class. If you are already at 18 units and there's absolutely no way you can change that, for example, if you're a senior or something like that, then please contact us. We will probably post our emails on the comment section, but definitely email us and we can work through that. So don't let that stop you from applying. We can definitely work with that. But it is really important for you guys to enroll. It's a great class. You're going to learn about missions, you're going to learn about leadership, and you're going to learn about cultural adaptability. And so it's great. Yeah, next slide. Important dates, take a picture of that. Some of those dates are the same as local, but some of them are different. For example, Coffee for a Cause is a different event, so you might want to take a picture of that. Yep. And then you want to go into the next one? Yeah, so this one you can go ahead and join, Amanda.
Yeah, so hello, I am Amanda. I am the HR director for this upcoming year. And what I do is I'm in charge of applications and just that process. And so for the MD Leadership Logistics, leaders apply and are accepted individually. So when you go into the application, you won't be able to choose, say, someone who is also applying to be a leader. You could only do it as yourself. And then you can apply to lead all 3 ministry options, but will only be selected to lead one. So you should tell us your priority. And then the process of applying. So pray, then apply. First, you have to find the app. And the app should be linked in the comment section below, as well as there will be a QR code at the end of this presentation, so you can go into that. And with that, you need your Biola net ID and password. And you can also, you can apply for both LM and GM, but you can only read one. Oh, here it is. And if you want to take a picture of that. And then parts of application. So when you fill out the application, it's going to have the questions, and then you're going to have to put in your academic and community standing form. And so that is just, you have to upload your transcript, and you're going to, you have to go through a process of, so I'm going to talk to one of the pastors, and we're just going to check your community standing and see if you're good. And then responsibilities for a leader and expectations agreement. That's a form that will be on there. And then we're also going to have you have a pastoral or Christian mentor reference information. And that's will be on the app, and it's going to have a contact your reference to let them know they'll be receiving a reference from the SMU HR director. And then there's going to be an interview agreement. And then, yes, important is when you're in the application, when you finish it, at the bottom, there won't be a submit button, but it's going to be at the very top on your right, and it will just say submit. And also, if you decide that you don't want to be a leader for this upcoming process, member applications will be open either around the same time as the leader application or a little bit later, but it would be open today or tomorrow. And then the leader applications are due on Friday, May 29th at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. And so that gives you a couple weeks to fill out the application. And then after you submit it, you will be emailed an interview sign up. And that's after all of the applications close on May 29th. And then for that next week will be interviews. And so, yes, so the apps due are on May 29th, and then the interviews June 1st to the 14th. And then we're probably gonna have a Zoom call for the leaders meet and greet on June 28th. And then if you want to take a picture of that email, that's going to be me. And if you have any further questions, you can email me.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. Amanda is so kind. So if you have any questions, she is so able to answer them, and she'll answer you so kindly, and treat her kindly too. She's so sweet. And so we actually had the blessing of having past leaders. And so we had the blessing of having Mr. D. Jacobs, and he was actually the director of the Manna Ministry for our one-to-one ministry that we are going to be doing. And he was able to create it to be more sustainable, and also, just really work to make it more sustainable. And so, Dee, we were wondering what made you want to be a leader?
Yeah, thank you, Angelica. Hello to everyone watching. Um, yeah, so I think what made me want to become a leader wasn't in particular, this ministry wasn't me, but God. There were a lot of doors closed that I thought I would totally be able to lead in, but God had other plans. And so, because Chad Miller is a mentor in my life and have been walking alongside with me throughout my years at Biola, it has been, he just was like, hey, I have this opportunity for you. And for me, I kind of saw it as a way of being able to explore into a different type of ministry that I didn't have too much experience in, as far as like working with those people that identify as homeless. And that's something that I'm just very careful about wording, of not calling it a homeless ministry, but rather seeing the people as humans first and then recognizing their situation. And so I think with this now being under SMU, like, you're going to be so much more fed as leaders, because one, you won't be doing it on your own, which I had to do last year. You will be better trained and equipped on how to deal with volunteers, which was probably like the hardest thing for me, was trying to make sure that they were committed and were willing to do the ministry. And so if you ask me the question of would I do it again, I would say absolutely yes, just with better tools as to how. And I think SMU are going to offer those better tools for you guys.
That's really good. Thanks, Dee. So we have Rachel next, and she led a team this past spring during spring break, but now the spring break trips are now during the winter, and she led a team with City Impact. So Rachel, what was it actually like to lead a trip? Like, was it hard? Was it easy? What was the class like? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was definitely a very special and unique opportunity to be a team leader. I was on SMU teams before in the past, both as team members. And so jumping to team leader was definitely taking on a lot more responsibilities. And so as you guys could probably see from the responsibilities page, there's a lot that you have to do as a leader. And yeah, being truthful, it is definitely a lot that you have. And it's a big time commitment that you make also. And so you have meetings, tons of meetings with your co-leader and your team developer and your mentor. And once you get your teams, you also have those as well, in addition to the class that you have to take, and also all the retreats and workshops and things like that that you have to do as well. And also at the same time that you're doing that, you're also kind of acting as a bridge between SMU and your team, and then also between Biola and your partnering organization. So it's definitely a lot of preparation and planning, and just overall a lot of work that you have to do, and a lot of responsibility that you take on. But if you ask me, I think that it was absolutely worth it, especially being able to look back and seeing all of the months of hard work that you put into leading a team, just kind of seeing everything come into fruition, and also just getting to be with your team and all of the relationships that you build. It was absolutely so worth it. I always tell people that it was honestly a highlight to my year, this past year for my sophomore year. And it was just such a fruitful and rich time being able to be a leader. But yeah, it was definitely so worth it, and also so doable. Even though it is a big time commitment and also a lot of work, you can absolutely do it with other commitments. This past year, I took on regular amount of courses. I had an on-campus job and was still able to lead. So if you guys are interested, I highly encourage you to do it. It is so doable. And it also really helps that you are not alone in this also as a leader. Again, as we mentioned before, you have your co-leader and you're kind of doing this hand in hand, sharing the work and supporting one another. I had a really awesome co-leader who always made me feel supported. And so you guys really aren't alone in that. And you also have your team developer who will be walking alongside you throughout the whole process. And so that will also be really helpful. And just the SMU staff in general is so supportive. I never once didn't feel supported during my time as a leader, and they also really do a great job at equipping you and training you really well, both for your leadership position and also for your ministry. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't unmuted. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing all of that and your heart. And we've been so blessed to be able to work with you. And so now we're going to ask Miss Megan. So Megan actually was a Samaria leader last winter break, and she went to Puerto Rico. And she's a team developer for the Global Missions Department this year, which is so cool. And we're so happy to have her on our staff. And so Megan, we were wondering, I almost asked you the same question as Dee. We were wondering a different question. What is the best part of leading a trip, and would you do it again?
Yeah, there are so many good parts, so it's hard to just pinpoint one. But I'd say just a big thing, at least during this semester of training with our team, was just getting to grow so close as a team before we even left on our trip. I remember we got to Puerto Rico and the youth group we worked with were so surprised that we had only known each other for a couple of months. So that was just such a blessing to have gotten to form those relationships so deeply through one-on-ones and team meetings, and even team retreats and everything before we left. So that, I think, goes into another thing that was just huge for us, was the bonds we formed with the youth in the country. So we worked really closely with the youth group and led a sports camp alongside with different youth in the church and the youth leaders, and just grew really close to them through that. And we got to do homestays and just formed really strong bonds with people there. We actually still have a WhatsApp group chat with everyone we worked with, and we just joined a Zoom call with the youth group last week. And then with that too, I think as a leader, you are kind of setting the example for your team of how committed you want the whole team to be. And I think like my co-leader and I both are pretty decent about responding consistently in our group chat with the youth, and then showing up to things like youth group when they invite us. And I think that example kind of helps our team do it too. So yeah, and on that too, I think Rachel touched on this a lot, but it is a pretty big commitment, but it's so worth it. And I think as a leader, you have an opportunity to really set an example for your team of how much time and effort you're willing to put in. And I think your team will really meet you where you're at in that, and they'll step up as well if they see you doing that. And for me, that was a huge blessing to see my team just really, even in country, just really step outside of their comfort zone in a lot of ways, and just really step up into leadership and into roles we weren't necessarily prepared for. But yeah, I would definitely do it again. It was such a blessing. And our team still FaceTimes and talks and hangs out. So yeah, I would highly recommend applying. SMU is amazing. And yeah, just leading was such a blessing.
Thank you so much for sharing, Megan.
Thank you.
And so now we're gonna open the comments for any questions that you have for us. Maybe there was a section that we talked too fast, and I know I was definitely talking very fast at some moments. And there was a lot of information. And so anything about the information we presented today and shared with you, or anything about the application process, or anything in general about SMU and the missions department.
Yeah, and while you guys just write those questions down in the comments, I want to do a quick just recap of sort of like the different options that we have. So under local missions, we have the 1-to-1 ministry, which is going to be a 1-year-long commitment. And they're going to be local, and you're going to be going every week. Then as well, under local missions, we're also going to be having the Judea ministries, which are going to be going out during winter break, but only staying within California. And then lastly, we have Samaria ministries, which are going to be going out as well during winter break. They are under global missions, and they're going to be staying within the United States, but outside of California. Those are kind of the three big ministries opportunities that we are offering for now. Just as a way of recap, you will not be applying for a specific location, rather for a ministry. So we will assign you the location that kind of relates more to who you are, to what your kingdom burden is all about, the different skills that you have, so you can serve those people better. So of course, if you're not into sports like I'm not into sports, we're not gonna have you do sports ministry. And as well, if you're like not good at teaching, we're not gonna send you to teach like English or something like that. We really wanna hear your heart, and we wanna just like put you in the ministry that we think you're gonna be able to be at your best and serve people well in that. So make sure you put that in your application. And as well as for, one thing I wanted to share, that's good that I remembered. Requirements. Many people think that you need to be like a missionary or like be an ICS major or have been to like 1,000 mission trip before. You don't need to be any of that. We really just want to hear your heart. We want people who are passionate about sharing the gospel. And so you don't have to have had any cross-cultural experience before or anything like that. We will ask you some questions regarding that, but it's not like, oh, if you don't have a certain amount of experience, then you can't do it. No, I feel like I don't even have enough experience for this job. So don't worry about that. You'll be fine. We really just want to get to know you, and we're so excited to just read all the applications and get to interview you soon. And Helga, you wanna recap something?
Yeah, I think so yeah, for the 1-to-1, I think the most important thing for that is to remember that it is a year commitment. And I think that's something that can feel like, whoa, I'm going to commit for a year to serve. And we hope that you don't feel like that's a huge burden. That is a huge responsibility, but we will have a community of people who will walk alongside you in that. And the reason why we're going to be doing this is because we believe it's a great way to continue to sustain genuine relationships with with the ministries we're partnering with, but also with the local community. I know, like for me or for other people too, like when you step into a community, whether it's in service or whether you're just living there, and then you are uprooted and you move, it's hard to continue those relationships. And we really want to have to be more relational and sustain those relationships rather than disrupt it. And unfortunately not be able to come back. And so we really believe that these one-to-one ministries are going to be great for the community and for us to be able to walk alongside them. And also, you're going to learn so much. I always walk away from it like, oh, I came here to serve, but honestly, like I always learn so much from the community that I'm in, and I always walk away shocked. And so just be prepared to be transformed by them as well, because they're people and they experience things as well that form you once they share it. And the fact that you get to hear their hearts is so beautiful, and to just be with them. And something for the Child Evangelism Fellowship Ministry as well, that organization, they highly recommend you to stay for a year, because you're going to be working with children, and children need that consistency of people staying in their lives, and not just different faces filtering in and out. And so that's why it's really important that we have people who want to lead for a full year. And so I know personally, like I would have, if I was a director right now, I would have wanted to do a full year ministry, because it's just so life-giving. And also it's like I said, I think I've said sustainable so many different times, but it's genuine relationships. Yeah. And I love everything that Stephanie has said too about you don't have to be an expert. We don't expect you to be an expert, but we want you to come in with teachable hearts and just willing to be flexible. Yeah. And so
Yeah, Amanda. There's a question about, sorry, my mom came in. There's a question about applications. It says that they're not showing right now. Do you want to tell them what time they will be available?
Yeah, so the applications don't open until 6 p.m. today, and that's for all 3 leader apps. For the rest of the applications, they'll probably open up later tonight. So if the link doesn't work, it's because the apps aren't available yet to the public.
Perfect. So you can wait like 1 more minute and they'll be out. If there are any other questions, if there are not any other questions.
Oh, really quick.
Mhm.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're in this meeting and whether or not you decide to apply to lead or be a part of a trip, if you just want to talk SMU, I would just love to get to know any of you guys better. So I'm going to send my email in the comments. I just did. And I would love to connect with you if you haven't found your place at Biola yet, or you just want to know more about SMU and what's going on this year, or if you just want to be friends. I would love to be friends. So I just wanted to say I left my email in the little comment chat, and I'd love to connect with you, whether it's about trip stuff or SMU in general. Yeah, that's all I have. Oh, and Joe, I commented, but my favorite quarantine activity is totally playing with my bunny. The best. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bobby. So I just tried the link for the applications and they are completely available now. So you can go apply right now. But yeah, so that's kind of all that we have for you today. I'm gonna also post my email as well. And so please just reach out to us if you need anything at all. If you want to know more information about it, about the requirements or about the ministries or anything like that, we're totally here for you. We're an organization that is by students for the students. So we totally want to hear your thoughts and anything that you have in your mind and in your heart for this. But yeah, with that, Angelica, if we don't have anything else to share, then I think that's it. That was our first info night.
What? That's our first event for SMU this year, guys. So thank you for coming. I'm so glad you were able to be with us. And I'm sorry we can't be in person, but I'm glad we were able to talk or at least talk and be listened to in this moment. So thank you everyone for coming. And I want to give personally a round of applause to all of our speakers, our leaders who came and who just came and offered their time, and our staff too. Alexio, our Marcom, our marketing and communications director, he worked so hard. President Bobby, and our HR director, Amanda. Amanda's been working so hard on the applications. And so thank you all for coming. And thank you, Stephanie, too. Stephanie's been working hard as well. And thank you for watching and being with us. So we'll be available. Reach out. We're here. We love you guys. And let us know if we can pray for you, too, in any way.
We love you guys. Can't wait to hear from you. And for this crazy next year, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be lit.
It's going to be lit.
All right. Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.